Welcome to Confab, Athenium's in-house podcast. Today we are joined by Nitesh Pradhan from Sikkim, who is a journalist. Nitesh is the co-founder of Eastern Himalayan News Service. He is also the correspondent at Akero News. He has also had the experience of working with TNT, the Northeast Today, and a correspondent to Assam Tribune and Summit Times, among many other associations that he has had as a journalist. He has been working as a journalist for over 5 years now. In our in-house podcast today, we are also joined by team members of Athenium, that is Yugen, Nandini, and Deep. So welcome to everybody. Nitesh, very quickly, we would want to start our today's podcast by first understanding that did Nitesh enter into the field of journalism? So if you can take us through that a little bit.
I was a student of mass communication in Sikkim University. And then while I was studying, I gave an interview to Summit Times. And my first assignment as a journalist was officially was for Summit Times, which is a daily newspaper. And now they have entered the digital space as well. And then, yeah, slowly, I started navigating through that entire, the course of the system, that works in Sikkim. And yeah, it's been 5 years now, and I have had the experience of working in some of the local newspapers and media house, as well as with the media houses in the Northeast as well, and other parts of the country. So I think for the past 5 to 6 years has been extremely rewarding, and I think I have also grown, as a person because of this lovely profession.
Nitesh, if we would ask you that, do you remember the first story that you have done? And what was your experience like when you officially, began journalism?
Actually, my first ever story was for Sikkim Express because I was interning under them, and it was an interview that I had to conduct of a very good artist, a rap artist from Nepal, who unfortunately committed suicide. Yeah. So, but yes, it was very nice. But my first official story was on monkeys for Summit Times because there was a lot of growing, man-animal conflict in certain areas of Sikkim, and especially even in our capital, Gangtok. So my first story officially as a journalist working full time was for Summit Times, and it was a story on monkeys. But my first ever assignment ever was for Sikkim Express, and it was a lovely interview with a hip hop artist from Nepal called Yama Buddha.
You have now spent around 5 years in the field. So,
Yeah.
what has been your experience? Or let me put it that, what would be that thing, or some of the experiences that you think would be better if you knew before entering the field and you may have learned them on the job?
What we study and what we do on, in the field is completely different, because what we learn is just how the things are, and whatever theories and whatever text that we get while studying, it's a bit different than what happens in the field, because in Sikkim, what I've realized is in media, of course there is a huge scope, but being in a very limited space and being in a very limited market, um, you just cannot do more. I mean, there is room for expansion, of course, but yes, there's so many limitations as well. So and one thing that I really learned was how to how to be a jack of all trade and master of none, because there's so many issues, there's so many things that's going on in our state. And being a correspondent for a media house, you have to cover everything, be it entertainment or be it political crime, uh, anything and everything that's happening, and you don't really much have a choice. You need to keep going, so I think what I've learned is just uh, do everything, just cover everything, go there, explore. Yeah, I think because what I've heard from my friends in the national media and other parts of the country is that they have a specific beat. They have a specific beat. If someone is covering political, then they are into it. But in Sikkim and in other parts of the Northeast, journalists have to literally be a jack of all trade and master of none.
So, if I can bring in this question that, like you very rightly pointed, that journalism in Northeast and Sikkim is very different, or the kind of situations that media persons face is very different from the so-called, I won't say national media, but let's say the metro media,
Yeah,
or, media outside of the Northeast,
Northeast.
right? So, what do you think are the, primary challenges that our media persons face? And like you're also on the field.
Yeah, I think the first and foremost, media is also a profession that brings bread and butter, So, first is, of course, finances, because there is a lot of financial crunch, and this salary system and however it works is very, very meager. So, what you'll find over here is one journalist is working with many media houses, because we need to earn a living, right? So yes, of course, and somewhere I think that will take away the creative side, and the passion for journalism, because slowly it will become about earning money and having a good salary, because it's very, very less, financially speaking. um, it's really the condition is really bad. And another challenge I think would be the lack of new people coming to this field, because although many people are studying now, interested in journalism, and they want to be in the field, they want to be working with media houses, but there is still slight discouragement from the families and from other people because of salary and everything. It's very um, it's not that financially rewarding, I guess. So yeah, I think the biggest challenge would be, trying to bring more young people to this field, because so many of them tried, so many of them are still trying, but it's a small market, especially if you come to Sikkim, and I think there is some form of saturation as well. So people are trying, but yes, it's quite challenging as well.
So you're bringing in the question of job security,
Yeah,
So
yeah.
one is, of course, less salary. What
Hmm.
else do you, think, according to you, is required in terms of job security and then the media profession? Specifically, we are looking at the region.
Yeah. Uh, when it comes to job security, it may be now there is, of course, people are getting more professional, and so many of the other northeastern states have started very good media ventures, and they are simultaneously generating a lot of employment in the surrounding vicinity of our northeastern states. And even me, I'm a correspondent for the Northeast Today, which is based in Shillong. So definitely, there has been a help from other parts of Northeast, and but then I think we still have a long way to go, because um, there is it's not that seriously done, I think, because somewhere even within us in the Northeast, we still have that, chalta hai attitude, or some kind of, laxity is there when it comes to taking media. very professionally and in a very long way. It's not a long-term goal for so many of our youths, because even my friends and all who were interested in media and who have been trying to do something in media, even they have tried, and so many of them have failed as well, and they have completely left the profession and they are doing something else. So yes, it's a bit of a struggle, but I think it's not that gloomy as well.
I'd like to bring in Nandini here, and she can interject with a question. Nandini.
Mm.
Yeah, Nitesh, there are a couple of things that cropped up in my mind when you were, talking about job opportunities, and because we recently had another podcast in which we did speak about, how we victimize ourselves. Now, in this with reference to what you have said, why is he one you were saying that people have to, number one, the question that I'm asking is that you were saying that media professionals, they like literally they work for different media houses, but does that not create a clash of interest? That is one. Number two is, when you talk about scarcity of job opportunities, and since we ultimately belong to the education sector, how how would you ask students to get into this field? Because what we have taught in classes is that journalism is not just about money. At least that's what I
Of
say to
course.
my students, that it is
Mhm.
not just about money, because after independence we say that it is all about service to the nation, also being the fourth pillar and all of that.
Mm. Mm.
So, when you bring in, and of course, I totally agree with what you've said, that you have to have an income also in order to support your family. So, does that not create a problem in the entire balance structure? That
Of
that is
course.
my second question.
I think I absolutely agree with you that we are the fourth pillar of democracy, and we of course stand for all the ideal things that we are taught, while studying journalism. However, of course, it's a thin balance. You need to take care of your family, and there's so many responsibilities as well. So, of course, the entire system is flawed, definitely, because the income generation model of journalism in the Northeast is very, very poor. And if you can't fund yourself, it will be very, very difficult for media houses to survive over here. And definitely, we need to work on more, progressive revenue generating models when it comes to media, especially small media houses, small independent media houses in the Northeast. We need to work towards it, I
একটু
think,
তাড়াতাড়ি যাও।
because yeah, hello.
Please, sorry, yeah, please go on.
Yeah, so yeah, we need to work on some progressive revenue generating model when it comes to media houses in the Northeast and in the media in the periphery, because it's so important to uh, gain access, to news and stories from our region. The mainstream press and the mainstream media will keep on bombarding us with reports from other parts of the country, but sadly we are ignored. um, that's why, I think it's more important for an interesting progressive revenue generating models for independent media houses in the Northeast.
Absolutely, thank you so much, thank you. Yeah.
So, because this is a very pertinent point, and I just want to reiterate what Nitesh said, that, that we're ignored and our own stories need to be told. So, in that context, we can see the rise of the digital media and, people's attempt to make use of the technology and tend to tell one's own stories. How do you see that development, Nitesh? One. And the second question is, in terms of the digital space, do you think that the stories are being told, or it is just a method where the youngsters are just very excited about the digital space? So a lot of portals are coming up, but the question is, Are the stories being told? Are they reaching out to the larger audience?
Of course, I think I'm very optimistic in this, and I see a lot of new faces who are interested, to take part in the entire media scene. Especially here in Sikkim, there are so many new media houses that are coming up, independent media houses that are coming up, independent portals that are coming up, and they are trying to, of course, they are trying to do so many good stories. Um, Even I have just opened one news portal called Eastern Himalayan News Service, and we are trying to generate content, different content, and tell our stories, and also pitch our state um, in a very progressive way. So I think I see a lot of hope, and of course, now due to the this process, this ongoing process of digitization of media, which is also indirectly democratizing the entire discourse. I think in the Northeast and in Sikkim and in our entire region, um, it's a bright future for every one of us. Those who wanted to share their stories, those who want to tell their stories, I think this is the best time ever, thanks to internet.
I'd like to bring Ugain here, because we are, again, in the context of digitization and portals coming up, and like Nitesh just pointed out, there is a very bright future and a very positive thought. So I'd like to hear what Ugain, wants to say in this particular context.
See, it's more of a availability of technology, and also the uh, you know connectivity. More and more connection, new speed is coming up. So somewhere there is also certain spaces in our society. I'm using the word spaces, who will always feel that they are being ignored, right? So one example is our own, I mean, Athenium, right? I mean, we had to come by ourselves and create a space by our own. So there are also, I mean, this is something I would also like to ask Nitesh, and it is more on economy. But on the same note, in Sikkim, something that Nitesh is also pointing out, many new, portals are coming up. Even if they are only, doing it through Facebook or YouTube, something like that. But more and more are coming up. And one reason I think is because there are always those sections who feel that they are being ignored. So that is my point I want to make. Then wanted to just ask Nitesh. I think also because Nitesh has worked in both print and now in digital. So what I cannot understand, I can see that new portals, or people are joining the digital platform to serve news. I just wanted to understand the economy of it. How does economy works? I mean, we all agree that at least in print media, economy is bad, but and then we can see the decreasing interest of people to work in print media. But situation is different in digital media. I mean, I don't know how matlab, digital media is sustaining themselves. I mean, organizations those are in digital media. Can you just elaborate on that?
Yeah, I don't know about others, but Eastern Himalayan News Service is totally reliant on whatever little ads that we get through the market. We do have someone in the marketing team, and we all are trying to pitch in through our best. And with regards to other media houses in Sikkim, I think especially in the digital space. They do have a revenue generating model which deals with the directly with the market, and um, especially if you take the example of Voice of Sikkim, Sikkim Chronicle, which are the now the leading digital media houses in Sikkim. I think they are doing pretty good when it comes to generating funds from the market through ads, and we are also trying to do that. I mean, good content will always give you good results, and yeah, that's how we are working right now.
Okay. So do you think that now, or in compared to the past, uh, are advertisements coming up more for the media, or even today? if you compare with the print media and the digital media, do you think that advertisers are going more towards digital media?
Definitely, I think so, because the reach is more, it's immediate, it's fast, and I think future is very bright for digital media when it comes to generating funds also, because slowly, whatever support print media was having when it comes to ads from even from the corporate and even from the government sector, that is slowly withering away. And we have been getting very good feedback, not only from corporates and but even from the government sector. Last time I was meeting some officials, and they were very positive that now the government is seriously thinking about giving ads even to the digital media. So I think there is a paradigm shift happening right now, and there is some kind of churning when it comes to business and generating ads.
Nitesh, once again, I repeat my questions, and I was asking you about, how you spoke about advertisement and the business revenue model, and we have been, talking about this, that advertisement are the only way of creating, and rather not creating, generating revenue for the, media houses. Now that brings us to the discussion of the political economy of the mass
Hmm.
media, which Noam Chomsky has been talking about for so many, years repeatedly, and we've been teaching this incessantly to all our students. So, would it, being a practicing journalist, have you, ever come across that being a hurdle in your, journey as a journalist?
Uh, I think I would be very dishonest if I say no, because I think every journalist does face, some kind of pressure, when it comes to reporting. So yes, of course, even I have faced, so many hurdles like that. But of course, I have been very, very vocal about it, about things, um, and of course, all my media houses in the past have always supported, whatever stories that I have done, no matter the pressure, because there have been pressure, no, not just political, but so many other pressures in the past, but I think whatever you said is absolutely on point, because um, we do face a lot of problem when it comes to reporting the actual thing, sometimes. But I think I've been blessed and lucky enough to be working with great independent media houses who have been doing really well.
Nitesh, herein I would want to know that, because you've brought in the question of pressures and threats. So in the current times, who
Yeah.
are going to use the greater threat, the state or the non-state actors?
Mm, I don't think state as a whole, it's very it is kind of liberal. I mean, it's very but I think the non-state actors, that uh, try to manipulate the system, they are the real threat.
And do you also encounter intellectual threats wherein there is a pressure to project the state in a certain light, and then not let certain kind of stories come out? So do you also experience intellectual threat while you try to put out a story?
I have not personally, I mean, received such threats, but I have heard from my seniors, and that there's so many layering, that goes to pitching one idea or a story when it comes to not just Sikkim but any other state or even our country.
Yeah.
So of course, I think that is part and parcel of our profession, and so many of our seniors have taught us how to navigate it, through that entire process.
The next question, therefore, is you just mentioned that your seniors have helped you, to navigate threats and such kind of intimidation. So there are two things, do you think that there is a need to have an organized system or a network for journalists who because in the terms of legal aid, when you're getting into a situation where there is a need to get into a court case or something like that, so how much of support does one get from the organization or as an individual, and then is there a need to have an organized a setup or a network wherein legal aid etc can be put forward, because you've already mentioned that the salary is not much, revenue generation is a problem. So when a journalist gets into a situation where there is a legal issue at hand, what do you think is the requirement?
A think tank. I think we need someone who can voice our opinion, and help us sometimes, in times of need, because you never know, anything can happen, right? So I think whatever you have said is absolutely correct. And in fact, we have been trying to build a network of independent journalists across the Northeast, especially in the beginning. So so that we can help each other in times of crisis.
And another question comes to my mind is the question of mental health. Like, for instance, when we talk about the military and the armed forces, we talk about their mental health and trauma. For doctors also and some other professions, right? But when it comes to journalism and media, nobody really talks about mental health and mental well-being of the
True, true,
professionals,
absolutely,
right?
absolutely.
So
Because
yeah.
in during the entire phase of the lockdown, and especially when so many people were losing jobs and their financial conditions were really bad, and and on top of that, as I already mentioned, in journalism, the salary is very less in the Northeast. So, and on top of that, we have to cover all the negative news. So that was, of course, very, very taxing for me personally, because I'm a very happy-go-lucky kind of a person, and um, I know it's a drawback when it comes to our profession, but still, I'm a very happy-go-lucky kind of a person, and then I had to, report extensively on all the negative things of the world, especially in a state like Sikkim, which is peaceful and which is relatively very happy than rest of the Northeast. And yes, it was very, very taxing for me, and I did feel that I should also consult someone, and of course I had my seniors, but it would have been much better if uh, we all could easily access some professional help. Yeah.
So, is there also support and encouragement in the fraternity? When it comes to talking about mental health and trauma, because people are reporting extreme situations. Like, let's say, in Sikkim we've had the earthquake, which
Yeah.
was a big thing at that point in time, and people are seeing so much of death and disaster, and so many
Hmm.
other things. So, within the fraternity, is there a talk about talking about mental health, and also what kind of organizational support is there in the context of media health of the journalist and the professionals?
Yeah, we do have a organization called Press Club of Sikkim, which
Yeah.
always tries to do something for us. Apart from that, there are so many people who are trying to build a network of journalists within Sikkim, but somehow something is not working. Something is not working out, and one collective voice is missing, I guess, because there's so many things that uh, can be done for the welfare of journalists and media personals, but it's not been happening. And there's so many demands as well, of journalists and media professionals, but something is missing. Yeah.
So then, if I bring in the question of capacity building,
Mm.
what kind of capacity building do you think is necessary? And if you can give us some pointers.
Mm, capacity building. I think we need more professional people, more people who have studied journalism. Because in Sikkim, what I see right now is there is a problem of quantity, and there is a lack of quality. I don't want to disregard whatever work other people have done, but I think we need more people who can understand the fine context of our media and whatever we stand for, as as fourth pillar of democracy, because we are the watchdogs. We have to speak out the truth. We should try to unearth things, and which is seriously lacking right now in Sikkim, because there's so many people in this fraternity, but unfortunately, the direction they are going is very unidimensional. Some of them are
Right.
really interested
Yeah.
only in covering one thing. If someone is interested in covering the government, so they will only talk good things about them, and some of them are interested to cover the opposition, and they will just talk nonsense about the government, and I think what we need right now is to focus more on our real issues, that is seriously lacking, and which we are trying to do in Eastern Himalayan News Service.
Right. Nandini, you want to add on?
Yeah. So are you saying that ultimately, what very specific with the Northeast, what happens is that the Northeastern states have always been very vocal about their political thought processes.
Yeah.
Are you saying that because of that, even the journalists are lopsided when they report something on media, because that would be a very dangerous situation?
Uh, Unfortunately, I think yes, journalists, alleged journalists. Actually, I don't want to call them journalists also, because like in every field, even in this field, there's so many vested interests, I'm sure. So yeah, we can't really say or judge someone negatively, but definitely uh, political influence in media is very very strong, especially in northeastern states, where people are hugely dependent on government
No, no.
for a living. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt you. What I'm saying is, one thing is political influence, wherein, people sitting at the top of the hierarchy are influencing you to not to report something or to report something. That is a separate level of, danger.
Yeah.
But when you yourself choose to not report something because you support a certain political party, that becomes a
Mhm.
huge problem, isn't it?
Of
the,
course.
in that case, what happens is nobody else is pressurizing you. It is because of your political thought process, because of
Mm.
which you are not doing it. There is a difference in both of these cases. Now, which is the dominant one? Is
I
it?
think
Yeah.
the dominant one would be where you are forced to do something. I think when you are forced not to report something, or where there is a slightly where these people will indirectly tell you about the consequences, and the fear of it, the fear of letting out the truth. I think that's more in the northeast than having a political thought and supporting someone in a free will. I hope you
So,
understood.
yes, we did.
Yes, we did.
Deep, you wanted to ask a question. Go ahead.
Yes. Okay. So means my question was that means Nitesh and some of his friends were actually, we can say, pioneer in many sense in terms of means starting this whole digital initiative. Okay. So when I was there in Gantok, so I am like basically means I'm aware about Voice of Sikkim. Okay, but then means it was basically a Facebook page where we used to get news. Okay, but then Nitesh and some of his friends actually started this whole digital initiative, and then they have come up with Sikkim Chronicle, and means it was more in like they were on the ground for reporting and everything. Okay, so my question is that because Sikkim is a hilly terrain, so what are the kind of challenges that you face, okay, in terms of reporting, and how do you basically coordinate, basically the technical process of how you coordinate, and okay, so the whole process of basically news gathering, that's what I would like to know.
Yeah. Sikkim being a very mountainous state, transportation is definitely a problem. However, it's a small land area, so we do have reporters in different parts of Sikkim. So, if you know, from sitting here in capital Gangtok, if I have to go to North Sikkim for a story, then I definitely need to plan in advance and um, check all my logistics and everything, and then only I can proceed. Of course, technically, it's uh, transportation wise and everything wise, it's very, very challenging. But I think because our state is very small, so I think it would be much better, if someone. I want to hear opinion from someone from Arunachal Pradesh because it's a huge state and it's sparsely populated, and I'm sure they have a lot of transportation problem. But in Sikkim, as you know, there are roads connecting each and every villages because our area is very small. Um, However, the road condition is really, really bad, so we need to plan everything in advance. Um, but yes, that's how we are going about right now.
Again, you want to put in your point?
Yeah, actually, I just wanted to make a few points about something that Nandini and Nitesh was discussing, and I actually have little bit different opinion on the matter of how new people are coming up in digital platform, and how kind of they lack kind of ethics, right? So I think for me at least, I don't have any problem with that, and that is because it does not matter whether I agree to that or whether I will subscribe to those kind of ideas or practices. But the point is, we should also realize that and these are the people or the groups or the section which feel that their voices have not been heard. Okay, and I'm making this point because similar kind of argument, similar kind of discussion, I watched again in digital media. I mean, being discussed by some other journalist in Sikkim, and this is one of the major, I don't know, issue. I think I can call it a issue that's going on in Sikkim. I mean, we even joke that if something happens in Sikkim, all we need to do is make a video of it and share it in the Facebook, and it will go viral, right? So I mean, there are people who are making videos also, whatever video they can make, and many people have problem on that. I mean, to one level, I also have problem with that because we are being more dependent on the digital platform. But on the other side, I don't have problem in that because see, I mean, and yeah, one argument is also that these people are not trained, as a journalist, so they don't know how to, report on some issues, right? But the point that we usually forget is that the profession of, I think, journalism came much earlier than the education, than the pedagogy, right? So, I mean, sometimes also pedagogy also makes us, keeps us into that silo, right? And we always try to analyze in those things. We forget that there might be section of people who might not have the, official language, okay, to or official way of speaking, official way of, telling their stories. So here and there, they might deviate from the ethical point of view. So one point is that. Another point that I just wanted to mention about what Nandini said on political economy. See, this is something, I mean, there is no clear-cut, answer to this because, of course, we all agree, at least in a democracy, that media is the fourth pillar of democracy. But we should never forget that for a structure to sustain, pillar has to be strong, right? So if pillar is not strong, or there is a vulnerability to the pillar, because like just we discussed, because of the non job security or non economy income security, so it is quite difficult to, I mean, even question, I mean, somebody who is being maybe taking money. Some might even take money from the political organization or parties. I'm not going to, I'm not, you know, advocating for them.
No,
I'm,
absolutely.
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
just saying that, yeah, we have to also think about it, that
Hmm.
we are in a situation where it is really difficult for media houses to sustain themselves, right? And apart from that, if there is a way to generate income, okay, uh, I don't know how much can we, question, them, and at least some of us actually did not enter the journalistic field even after going through the internship, is because we knew that there is no income security, right? And maybe we did some other things. So I think it's quite difficult. And just to, again, another point, third point that I just wanted to mention, and this is my own personal view, that for me, I think there is no problem if someone, a journalist, is biased towards some political organization or some kind of political leader, right? But the problem is when there is no alternative view, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you cannot counter propaganda by silencing someone,
Hmm.
those who are generating
Yes.
propaganda. You can only counter
True.
propaganda with counter propaganda. So what the counter is also a propaganda. Only things that it is a counter, right? So this is just the point that I was trying to say.
Yes, I absolutely agree with you again.
True.
And yeah, absolutely true. All the things that you've said, that, bias doesn't really matter, but then, you need to have an alternate argument. Absolutely, point well taken. And the other thing I think you spoke about, and let us call a spade a spade. If you do not get money from the organization, obviously they will turn to some other party to get the money from, and there has to be some, business model that needs to be created. Of course, I completely agree to all the things that you've said.
I think I would just like to tie the entire conversation into a few important points. I think one very important thing that we can take from here is that I think the hope that Nitesh has as a young journalist from Sikkim and from the region is that, though some people are not entering the field, it is people like Nitesh who are there in the field, despite the challenges and despite the threats that are there, trying to bring forward the narratives that get sidelined and just hold it up there despite the tough circumstances. The second thing is that the opportunities that digital media has brought forward, I think, is a boon for the region, because I think, like Nitesh said, and a lot of other people also say, that one needs to tell our own stories, and I think digital media gives that particular scope vis-a-vis the economy, because in terms of running a full-fledged media house, whether it is a television or a newspaper, the costs are so much that I think we do not have that kind of a media economy to sustain such big media houses. But the digital space, with crowdfunding or little revenue in terms of advertisement, can still sustain itself. So I think that is a positive. And I think that is where Athenium also sort of finds its footing, that it is a blessing of the digital space. And the third thing is that I think, this whole argument about narrative and counter narrative that Nandini and Nitesh and Ugen were, trying to bring forward, that the problem is the absence of narrative. And the more the number of narratives that we have, at least the people have the opportunity to go through them and form their own opinion. But when there is an absence of narrative, that is where, I think the crux of the problem lies, that one group, one region completely gets sidelined. And I think when we look at Nitesh from Sikkim or other such journalists from the region and the kind of work that they do, I think it is hopeful in the senses that, we are trying to get past this framework that we are only conflict driven, we are only dependent on somebody else, to tell our story, and that we get the stepmotherly treatment, this and that. I think that is something that can be, broken past, because there are people who are trying to tell their stories no matter what the circumstances are. So I think with this, we will summarize this particular podcast. Nitesh, thank you so much for
Thank you
joining
so much
in.
for having me.
And you're a young journalist. I think it gives a lot of hope to all of us who are in the profession of teaching journalism. I think it's a big hope that you're still trying to hold the ground, hold the batons, and making space for younger people like you to come in and tell the stories that need to be told. So that is all at Confab today. Thank you, Nitesh, and the in-house members also.
Thank you so much, and I wish Atheneum all the best for everything they do.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you
Thank you,
again,
Nitesh.
Nandini and Deep, for joining in.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Nitesh. Thank you,
everyone.
everyone. Thank you.